She touched his arm twice in one sentence. I counted. Then she waved at me without turning her head and said, "That's my husband for now." The whole table laughed like we were at some roast. Except I wasn't in on the joke. I was the joke. She didn't look at me when she said it. She was too busy locking eyes with the guy in the fitted gray suit, the one I'd seen in her call logs under Dom work. He raised his glass and said, "That a warning or a threat?" And she winked. I stared at her. She didn't even flinch. Didn't even care that I heard. There were 8 of them, the marketing team. Me at the end like an extra chair someone forgot to put back. She was the only woman at the table. The guys treated her like a queen. I was just her driver. She hadn't even invited me. Said it was staff only. Then changed her mind last minute like she was being generous. I should have stayed home. I had chili in the crock pot. I could have watched the Knicks and passed out by 10. But I put on slacks. Shaved. Even picked up a damn bottle of her favorite wine as a surprise. She left it in the car. Didn't even mention it. Before we go any deeper, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Anyway, I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I didn't say a damn word. She finally glanced over, fake smiled like she'd forgotten I was there, and said, "Oh babe, don't look so serious. It's just office banter." Her hand touched my arm for half a second. I didn't move. Then the same guy, Dominic, leaned back and said, "Hey man, lighten up. You've got a stunning wife. Can't blame us for admiring leadership." Leadership? That was new. She was just promoted last month, and suddenly this guy's all over her like she runs the damn company. She laughed and toasted him with her glass. "Dominic's been so helpful during the transition. I don't know what I'd do without him." That was it. I stood up. Napkin hit the floor. Jacket still on my chair. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't even grab my phone. I walked past the dessert table, down the stairs, and out into the snow. And I never walked back in. I didn't feel the cold until I got to the corner. My hands were shaking, not from the wind, but from whatever the hell had just happened upstairs. The way she said it, "My husband for now," like she was announcing a clearance sale. I couldn't stop hearing it. I crossed the street without looking, walked past a row of parked cars, and stood on the edge of the parking lot like I forgot how to move. That was the moment I saw her car pull out from the underground garage. Except, it wasn't just her. Dominic was in the passenger seat. I didn't even think. I got into my car and started driving, lights off. They didn't see me. I followed 2 cars behind. No music, gripping the wheel like it owed me money. They weren't going toward our house. They took a left onto Jefferson and headed toward the riverfront, where all the expensive condos are. They parked in front of a building with valet. She got out first, laughing. He followed, and right before they walked in, he placed his hand on the small of her back, the exact spot she used to ask me to scratch when she was stressed. They went inside like this was routine. I didn't move for almost 10 minutes. I sat there staring at the front doors, hoping maybe she'd come running out, see my car, wave me in, explain everything. She didn't. I called her. Straight to voicemail. The second I got home, I opened her laptop. She never logged out of anything. She thought I was too dumb to care. Her Gmail was open. Flight confirmation. 2 tickets. Her and Dominic. Miami. For nights. Romantic hotel, couples massage included. Booked 2 weeks ago, 2 days after she told me she needed time alone after the promotion stress. You know what I was doing that weekend? Repainting the guest room for the nursery we never started. She came home after midnight. Smelled like expensive wine and cheap lies. I sat on the couch in the dark, laptop still open. She jumped when she saw me. "What the hell, Owen?" I didn't yell. I didn't even speak. I just turned the screen toward her. She froze. Then she had the nerve to roll her eyes. "Oh my God, you went through my stuff? That's such a violation." "A violation?" I laughed. Out loud. Ugly and broken. Then I stood up, walked past her, and slammed the bedroom door behind me so hard the picture frame fell off the wall. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She was in the kitchen scrambling eggs, wearing the t-shirt I got her from our trip to Cape Cod 3 years ago, the one she always said was too big, but now suddenly felt comfortable enough to sleep in again. I walked in and didn't say a word. Just stared at her, waiting. She didn't even look up from the pan. "Are you seriously not going to talk to me all morning?" I kept my arms crossed. My jaw hurt from how hard I was clenching it. She finally turned and leaned against the counter, arms folded, like I was the problem. "Look, I don't know what you think you saw, but nothing happened. Nothing happened." That was her story. Not the flight reservations. Not the hand on her back. Not the wine and the late night. Nothing happened. I asked her, flat out, "Why were you at that condo with him?" She shrugged. Shrugged. Like I'd asked why she bought a different kind of almond milk. It was a client thing. Dominic had to hand off some paperwork. He didn't want to bring it to the office. She was actually doing it. Lying to my face, badly, like I was too stupid or too tired to call her out. I walked over to the kitchen drawer, pulled out the printed itinerary from her email that I dug up last night, and slapped it on the counter. She barely glanced at it. "Wow. So now you're spying on me." "I'm married to you." "That's not spying. That's catching you mid-lie." She didn't even blink. "You've been so insecure lately, it's exhausting. You read into everything. No wonder I don't tell you anything." That's when it hit me. She wasn't even trying to explain. She was flipping it, making me the villain for not being dumb enough to swallow it. Then came the worst part. "I think you owe me an apology," she said, brushing past me like I was furniture. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my body didn't know what else to do. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. I followed her down the hall. "For what?" I asked. "What exactly am I apologizing for?" "For embarrassing me. At the party. For walking out like some drama queen and making a scene." She was looking in the mirror, fixing her hair. I was behind her in the doorway, watching her like she was a stranger. She sprayed perfume and didn't even look back. "You humiliated me," I said quietly this time. In front of everyone. She met my eyes in the mirror. "Grow up." And then she left. She grabbed her bag and walked out the door, same way she did every morning. Except now I knew exactly where that bag was going. I didn't follow her. I went into the guest room, shut the door, and finally let myself lose it. 3 days after she made me apologize, she told me she had to go out of town for a last-minute client emergency. The way she said it was so casual, like she was asking me to pick up milk. No eye contact, just stuffing clothes into her carry-on while sipping coffee from a mug that used to say "Best wife ever." I watched her pack that tiny black dress she hadn't worn in over a year, the one she used to say made her feel dangerous. I asked, "Where's the emergency?" She blinked at me like I'd just interrupted a podcast. "Boston." "Which client?" She zipped her bag. "It's a confidential pitch, Owen. You wouldn't understand." That part stung. She always used to include me in her career stuff. I'd helped her rehearse speeches, edited her decks, even built her first portfolio website when she was just starting out. Now suddenly, I wouldn't understand. She left that night. Didn't even ask if I could drive her to the airport. Just called a car and waved goodbye through the window like she was leaving for summer camp. I didn't wave back. I waited till she was gone, then pulled out my laptop. She'd cleared her browser history this time, but not her Google Maps. The timeline didn't lie. 2 days ago, she spent 3 hours at a steakhouse in Midtown. Dinner for 2. Then 2 more hours in a residential tower across the street. No mention of that in her client dinner excuse. Nothing in the calendar. Just red flags waving like it was the 4th of July. I screenshotted everything. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I called in sick. First time in years. I told my boss I had the flu, shut off my work phone, and started planning. If she was going to treat this like a business trip, I was going to treat it like an investigation. I drove to Boston the next morning. Took me over 3 hours, but I didn't care. I knew the hotel. It was on the itinerary she thought I didn't see. I booked a room in the same building, different floor. Didn't bring anything but my phone, a charger, and a spiral notebook where I'd started writing down every date, every excuse, every lie. At 6:42 p.m., I saw them. She was in heels, laughing, her hand on his chest. Same guy, Dominic. They walked out of the elevator together. She was glowing. He was looking at her like she was already undressed. I stayed out of sight behind a column in the lobby, watching the two of them disappear into the restaurant on the first floor. I didn't follow them in. I didn't need to. I'd seen enough. I waited until their wine glasses were full before I took the photo. They were sitting side by side in that dimly lit hotel restaurant, all cozy in their little corner booth, like they were on a second honeymoon. Her hand was resting on his leg. I zoomed in. Click. The flash was off. They had no idea I was there. I was standing just outside the window on the patio, phone tilted up between 2 potted plants like some sad, silent paparazzi. She used to hate public displays of affection. She'd swat my hand away in grocery store lines, said it was awkward. Now she's playing footsie with her coworker over lobster bisque. I stepped away from the glass, heart pounding like I'd just robbed a bank. My hands were freezing, but I could barely feel them. I walked back to my rental car, sat behind the wheel, and stared at that photo. I wasn't crying. Not really. Just leaking rage from my eyes. I opened a new message. Attached the photo. No words. Just the picture. And I sent it. 2 minutes later, my phone started vibrating nonstop. First it was a call. Then a second. Then a third. I didn't answer. I just watched her name light up over and over. Finally, a text came through. What the hell is wrong with you? That was the best she could do. Not I'm sorry. Not let me explain. Just that. Like I was the one out of line. Then another text. Where are you? I didn't answer. Instead, I drove 10 blocks down, parked, and sat in a gas station lot behind the building. I watched as 10 minutes turned into 20, then 40. No more calls. No apology. No panic. Just silence. She must have figured I was bluffing. Or maybe she didn't care anymore if I knew. Maybe she thought I'd just sulk for a while, then come home and pretend it didn't happen, like I always had. At 11:17 p.m., I saw them leave. She was clinging to his arm now. Her heels were in her hand. They crossed the lobby and headed straight for the elevators. I never looked away from the hotel entrance. I waited, just to be sure. At exactly 11:23, all the lights in her suite went out. I took one last screenshot, the timestamp, the hotel info, the reservation details she thought were deleted, and backed it all up to the cloud. Then I booked a second room. Not for me. For a lawyer. She walked into a quiet house. Lights off, blinds closed, not a sound. No welcome home, no passive-aggressive questions, no me waiting in the living room pretending I wasn't dying inside. Just silence. I'd left 2 hours before her flight landed. Everything I needed was already packed. She probably expected the cold shoulder, maybe a fight. Maybe another one of those tired standoffs where she rolls her eyes, tells me I'm paranoid, and gaslights me until I question reality again. But what she got instead was absence. The key was on the counter. Next to it, I left a single manila folder. No note. No explanation. Just printed copies of the hotel receipt, the reservation for two, the dinner bill, the photo from the window, and the message she sent me right after. What the hell is wrong with you? She said that to me. I pictured her walking in, seeing it, flipping through each page with that perfect little frown she uses when she knows she's been caught, but doesn't feel like admitting it. I could imagine the first few seconds of panic, followed by that cold calculation she always runs through in her head. How do I flip this? How do I come out looking like the victim? But this time, there was no one to perform for. No scene. No audience. Just a half-empty house and a ring on the nightstand. I didn't go to a friend's. I didn't crash with my brother. I booked a short-term rental in a completely different zip code. Something temporary. Neutral ground. I needed space to think without her voice in my ear, without that perfume of hers clinging to every towel and pillow. And yeah, I cried. I'll admit it. Alone, in some cheap little apartment with beige walls and stiff sheets. I finally let go of everything I'd been choking back. The embarrassment, the betrayal, the fact that the woman I built my life around had spent God knows how long planning her exit, right under my nose, while still using me as her emotional punching bag. The next morning, the calls started. Voicemail after voicemail. Some angry, some fake sweet. One where she actually sobbed like I was the one who abandoned her. It was so warped I laughed halfway through it. Then came the texts. Let's talk. I can explain. We were just drunk. You're overreacting. Don't do anything stupid. That last one got to me. Stupid. Like I was some unstable child who couldn't process betrayal without losing control. I didn't answer. I watched her messages stack up like trash bags no one wanted to take out. I muted her number, set her email to auto-archive, and shut the door on whatever performance she was preparing next. She didn't know where I was. She didn't know I had already contacted a divorce attorney. And she definitely didn't know what I found when I finally decided to go through our shared cloud storage. I wasn't even planning to look. I opened the cloud account out of habit. We used it for boring stuff, receipts, travel confirmations, scanned bills. But for some reason, I clicked into the personal folder she always told me to ignore. It was buried under layers of subfolders and had some vague name like archive_2018. I almost skipped it. Almost. Inside were screenshots. Dozens of them. Most were texts. Not mine. His. Dominic's. Months of late-night messages, inside jokes, pet names I'd never heard her say out loud. Some were even worse, comments about me. Jokes at my expense. Screenshots of my texts with captions underneath like, "Ah, look at the puppy beg." And she'd respond with laughing emojis, or stuff like, "He's so clueless, it's almost sweet." There was one message that hit harder than the rest. Dominic wrote, "He's not going to leave, you know. He's too weak." And Brenna replied, "I know. That's why I'm not in a rush." It felt like I'd swallowed glass. She hadn't just cheated on me. She'd studied me. She'd used my loyalty as cover, my trust as leverage, and my silence as a way to stretch this lie out as long as she needed. She didn't think I'd ever walk. She thought I'd take it. I downloaded everything, backed it up twice. Then I sent it to one person only, her father, the same man who toasted us at our wedding, who once told me, "If she ever forgets who she is, remind her." I didn't say a word in the email, just attached the screenshots and typed, "Thought you should see this first." Then I shut my laptop, sat back, and exhaled like I hadn't breathed in weeks. I didn't hear back from her dad right away, but when I did, it was a 5-word email. Handled. You did the right thing. That was it. A day later, Brenna stopped calling. By the end of the week, I got a text from an unknown number. All it said was, "She got fired." I didn't reply, but I already knew. I'd been watching her LinkedIn page, quietly updated to open to opportunities. Just like that, the promotion she slept her way into vanished. Corporate doesn't love scandal, especially when it leaks outside the office. I didn't even have to make a scene. All I did was send her own words to the one person she couldn't lie to. Turns out Daddy wasn't impressed. The divorce was fast, cleaner than I expected. She didn't fight for much, probably too busy trying to salvage her reputation. Her lawyer tried to get alimony. Mine handed over the Miami receipts, the hotel logs, and the screenshots from the cloud. That conversation ended real quick. A month later, I saw her by accident. Grocery store parking lot. She was wearing sunglasses and pretending to talk on the phone. I watched her walk past me without saying a word. No smug grin, no fake confidence. Just silence. Like she couldn't believe I was still standing. But I was more than standing. I was moving on. Got my own place. Quiet. Simple. No staged photos on the wall. No fake throw pillows for aesthetic. Just peace. And freedom. I went back to old habits I'd forgotten. Guitar, night drives, sleeping with both eyes closed. People ask if I miss her. What they don't get is, she left long before I did. I just finally caught up. And now, she's unemployed, single, and blocked from every part of my life that matters. Let her explain that on her next date. That's the thing about people like her. They always think they'll land on their feet. But sometimes karma waits until they're midair. And then it lets go. She lost her job, her marriage, and her mask. Fair karma or not enough? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe for more stories. The next one's even wilder.